Hi everyone, this video is for section 8.3, 1 sample intervals for the mean. The question that we're going to be looking at reads, maintaining your balance may get harder as you grow older. A study was conducted to see how steady the elderly are on their feet. They had the subjects stand on a forced platform and have them react to noise. The forced platform then measured how much they swayed forward and backward, and the data is in table 8.3.11. We want to find a 99% confidence interval for the mean sway of elderly people. Before we begin, and I will mention this during our process, note that we only have 9 data points. So this may actually cause an issue with regards to knowing if our assumptions have been met in order to actually create this interval. For now, we're really just going to use this video to go through the general process. However, I am going to stress that we technically may not be able to move forward given the very small amount of data and the lack of detail that the question has actually provided for us. So the first thing that we need to do is state the random variable and the parameter. So in this narrative, we are talking about a mean. So for my random variable, I'm going to use x bar, and I'm going to note that this is the mean sway of 9 elderly people or subjects or participants. So for my parameter, since I am again talking about a mean, my parameter will be mu, because that's going to refer to the population mean. This is going to be the mean sway of all elderly people. And in this case as well, I might go back and do a little bit of editing here, mostly because I didn't include my unit of measurement. So I might kind of put this in here and mention that the mean sway is being measured in millimeters. For our next step, we want to verify that we have met the following 3 assumptions. First, are we dealing with a simple random sample? And I really want to call out that the researchers did not stipulate that those 9 individuals that participated in their research were sampled randomly. So for the sake of being able to move forward and create this confidence interval, we're going to say, yes, I believe that this is a simple random sample. Again, however, if you were actually presenting this out or sharing this information, you would want to note that you were not aware if this sample was a simple random sample, which then could impact your results. Next, we want to note, is this normally distributed, or is the sample size 30 without outliers? Well, clearly we're not working with a sample size of 30 here, so again, we are going to ask ourselves, is this coming from a normal distribution? And again, in this situation, the researchers did not disclose whether this is coming from a distribution that was normal. So again, for the sake of us being able to move forward, we're going to say, I'm going to assume that it was normally distributed. Next, do we know the population standard deviation? In other words, do we know sigma? Again, it didn't state in the narrative if we knew the population standard deviation for the mean sway for elderly people. So in this case, we are going to say no. So that means that we are going to instead have to rely on the sample standard deviation. And for the sake of time, I'm going to abbreviate standard deviation. And remember that the notation for that would be a lowercase s. So for our next step, which procedure will you use in this situation? And this hinges on if you know the population standard deviation, sigma, or do you know the sample standard deviation, s. We know the sample standard deviation, so in this situation, we're going to use our t interval. Moving on, we're now going to use our calculator in order to determine the sample mean and the confidence interval. What I would encourage you to do at this point is to pause the video and actually go through the process on your own. When you are ready, go ahead and press play, and then I will share out those steps. This way you can go through and make sure that you've done the procedure correctly, and if not, then you have some opportunity to go back and note what changes you need to make in your process. So for our first step, we are going to enter our data into a list. So in order to do that, we're going to press our Stat key. And from there, we're going to see on our menu in our TI-84 that Edit in the top bar is already highlighted. So then we are going to choose option 1, Edit. We're going to be taken into a new screen, and from there we are going to enter our data into a list. Usually this will be list 1. If you are entering it into a different list, just make sure that you note which one you are using because you're going to need it for step 2. So for step 2, once you've entered your list, you'll go ahead and press the Stat key again. You'll arrow over to Tests in the top menu, and from there you will select option 8, which reads T interval. Press Enter, and then you'll be taken to a new screen. From here, for input, you are going to select data instead of stats. This is because we have been given a table of data to work with here instead of summary statistics. Next, you're going to list out, or you're going to note which list you are using. In my situation, I put it in list 1, so this is why I'm going to use L1. If you input your data into a different numbered list, what you will want to do is press your second key, which is going to be the blue key in the upper left-hand corner of your keypad on your calculator. And for example, if you are working with list 2, you would press the number 2. And you should see L2 populate that field on your screen. Frequency will leave as 1, and then for your confidence interval, since we are working with a 99% confidence level, we want to write that decimal form of that 99% confidence. In doing this, we end up getting an interval with a lower bound of 15.403 and an upper bound of 37.263. Other input that we receive from doing this t-interval process in our calculator, we get our sample mean, which is around 26 1/3. We get a sample standard deviation, so the calculator actually takes care of that for us, and that's around 9.77 if we rounded that to the second decimal place. And then our sample size, which we had known from the very beginning, is equal to 9. Now we're going to go ahead and state our conclusion using appropriate context from the situation that we were analyzing. So again, what I would encourage you to do here is pause this for a moment and take some time to create your own conclusion. Don't worry if it's right or wrong at this point, but what I want you to do is kind of see what was important to you and then go ahead and compare it to the final answer that I will share out. Make some notes for yourself, see what was missing, see what could be improved, see if there's anything that could be shortened or anything that needs to be expanded on. Remember that you are still learning how to do this appropriately, and it's going to take some time to kind of get that down. That being said, a couple things that you want to keep in mind. One, you should call out the confidence interval level that you are working with. So in this case, you want to note that you are 99% confident. 2, you want to make sure that you include the lower and upper bound values that you worked so hard to calculate. And 3, you want to include that context. What situation are we talking about here? Make sure that that comes through in your final statement. So again, pause the video here, take some time, and when you're ready, press play and we'll review. So in our situation, we would say something along the lines of, we are 99% confident that the true mean sway of elderly people is between 15.403 millimeters and 37.263 millimeters. So again, note that I have stated my confidence level. I'm also calling out that we are looking at the true mean, or you could have said population mean here. I'm noting that we are talking about the sway of elderly people, and I'm also including my lower bound and my upper bound, plus the units of measurement that go along with those numerical values. I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know.